He was an artist who lost his art to the 9mm pistol. He was a dreamer who lost his ambition to whiskey. He was a romantic who lost his love to brothels. And he was a son who lost his ideals to the Mumbai Mafia. So
we're here with Ms. Pooja Chamkoiwala. She is the author of Gangster on the Run, the story of Rahul Jadhav, who was the right-hand man of the Jaidev Reddy gang in the 90s. And she's written about his life, his reformation, his improvement.
Okay, so Rahul, if I were to sum it up in a sentence, he was a gangster who's now an ultramarathoner. And if I were to elaborate, he was an artist who lost his art to the 9mm pistol. He was a dreamer who lost his ambition to whiskey. He was a romantic who lost his love to brothels. And he was a son who lost his ideals to the Mumbai Mafia. So basically, Rahul grew up to be an extortionist, an underworld hitman, a sharpshooter, a gun runner, an alcoholic. And then he turned his life around, and today he's an ultra marathoner and he is a de-addiction counselor. He has covered about 10,000 kilometers in his runs, which include dozens of marathons. And he also participated, actually it was a self-supported run, from Mumbai's Gateway of India to the India Gate in Delhi, which was a 1500 kilometer run last year. And he hopes to break the National Stadium run record one day. That's about Rahul. Yes, I think
that's a brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it's a brilliant pitch. This sounds like an epic about an incredible man, which I suppose it is actually, you know, in a way, the way this guy has come up from nothing actually in the middle of his life. He's, you know, he was broken by the system and how he's risen up. So Rahul Jadhav was from a lower middle class family. You know, we find out about the fact that he is from a town at that time, what was a small town outside Mumbai. He's from a low middle class family, but he didn't suffer from poverty. Like, he wasn't poor. His parents educated him. You know, his dad did make enough for them to survive. So he didn't have any problems to start with, I suppose. You know, what we perceive as the origins of a gangster, I suppose he didn't have that. And yet he was initiated into the underworld. So can you explain how gangsters in that time were able to attract men like that?
So basically, poverty is not the only road to ambition, right? I mean, even people who are well off are ambitious, and it's just that their ambitions are different. So Rahul was hungry for power. Rahul was hungry for money, of course. Like you said that there was no shortage. I mean, he had an education, he had a roof over his head. But the holidays were never comfortable. You know, when they went to their village, they went in the rickety state bus and they had to line up for it all night. So, and his father is a very humble, very soft-spoken, very God-fearing man. And he never approved of his father's ways because he thought that, you know, he's honest, and what is he getting? He only has limited means to show for it, for all his honesty. So he wanted to break free from his father's benevolence. You know, he wanted to carve a name for himself. And like he put very nicely that because he could not excel at his studies, he could not be Mahatma Gandhi. So he chose to be Dawood Ibrahim. Because both are famous, both are powerful. And of course, Dawood has more money. But he chose that path because he wanted the money he wanted the power, the recognition. You know, it's all that there is, right? I mean, your names are in the papers. That is fame. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's infamy. It is fame. Like, yeah.
On to the next question. You know, you talk about this peculiar business because obviously the underworld is not, it's not a corporate setup. Okay, so we don't understand it. There is no transparency, you know. So this business of dons splitting, you know, they split their gang and they move away from this thing. Now, when the 1993 blasts took place, you know, Rajan and some of the others tried to carve an identity as a Hindu don. You know, again, Dawood Ibrahim, who basically had supplied it and perpetrated all that stuff. As a patriot, Don, Rajan, and a lot of others were trying to create this branding. Why do you think a criminal needs branding, and why would that be required in such a sphere where you're doing something wrong only, you know?
It is an enterprise. In fact, why is it called, or I always say this, why is it called organized crime? Because it is highly organized. It has a proper corporate structure. So if you see the book also, there are various departments and there are men leading various departments. There's somebody, who's liaising with powerful men. There's somebody who's maintaining the sleeper cells. There's somebody who's procuring the weapons. So for them, they also need, for like every company, like they need branding. And after the 93 blast happened, I think, as you rightly pointed out, and as we have covered in the book also, it was a very good narrative to create, that I'm against Dawood, I'm a Hindu Don, I'm a patriot Don, and I do not support his nefarious activities. So that way they get the support of right-wing politicians, right-wing businessmen. So I think, and Rahul also always saw through that deceit, and because he was so focused on money, he did not fall for the narrative, but he could understand it. I mean, he knew where it was coming from, and I think a few years down the line, had he not been arrested, he would have gone for the same. You never know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Rahul talks about the ability to pull the trigger on someone. He tells Much one of his people, one of his men, your brains over blood. That Rahul is the killer, not much. So this suggests, just 1 second. Yeah, this suggests like a hierarchy of men, because I think we assume that it's the underworld. Once you're there, you're evil, and so you're willing to do the extremes, you're willing to do whatever it takes. And so I think that's how the general public sees gangsters, as a collection of godless men. But obviously, it's not that simple. So could you comment on that there are hierarchies, there is a willingness to do, but after one point certain men will not do what is needed?
I mean, it just depends. So, I mean, what I've tried to do in this book also is I've tried to humanize them, because you hear of crime and punishment, you do not hear of survival and redemption. So that's what I liked about Rahul also, and that's why I ended up writing this book. And the thing is that with Rahul also, it's just, so eventually it's not about what you would personally do or you won't do. It's not about how far can you push yourself. It's just about the reverence for your dawn. And there's a reason why they're called bhais, because it's actually a brotherhood of brethren. So they do it for their affection. They do it. There's a genuine reverence. I mean, the bhai's word, मतलब वो कहते हैं ना, पत्थर की लकीर types, पत्थर पे लकीर types. So they do it for their word, for their ideals. And plus, the bhais also, they make sure that these the crime machinery is well greased, because they're ensuring that, like you said, so much money. He was given 25,000 rupees for a 4-hour job in the 90s, which was a lot of money at the time. So they make sure that these people stay committed by keeping them hooked with money, by keeping them hooked with this constant affection. So if you see how the Don talks to Rahul, he's very affectionate. He's like, he never talks without saying beta. He asks about his family. So I think these are very close relationships which somewhere allow you to push your limits, and the same happened with Rahul. He had never held a gun, and he did it for his Don, and he was happy to do it. And whenever he had some hesitance, he drank copious amounts of alcohol, or he just took drugs, so that made his shootouts easier.
So, how did you go about finding the men in his account? Because I suppose like Much is one of his men, and he also went to jail. I don't know what happened to Much after he went to jail, but obviously research in something like this is very difficult, because half these people are criminals. They're not going to come out and say कि भाई मैंने ही किया है, They're not going to say it to a journalist of all people. So how did you go about crafting accounts of people, understanding what they went through, plus how did you collect these? How did you get them to talk about what they've done?
See, writing non-fiction is always challenging, and if it isn't, you're not doing it right. You have to have your research in place, you have to have your papers in place. So I think that was the most challenging part about this, because I had to dig out 2-decade-old documents. I had to find officers who were in office at the time, and plus these people, like the side characters, for instance, Much, who was his best friend and his co-accused. He took, I think I met him 3 or 4 times before he finally started talking to me, and many meetings thereafter after which he started, confiding in me. And as you know, his name has been changed because he's not comfortable. So these are people who've snubbed this part of their lives, in a dark corner of their minds, and they do not want to talk about it because it's something that they've moved on from. They've transformed their lives. So they do not want to revisit it. But then, as in any piece of journalism or as in any story, you build faith by meeting them recurrently, by having multiple conversations. And I think over a span of 1.5 years, 2 years, they did confide in me. And I think I was quite persistent, and I have a bad image, bad reputation of being pushy with my sources. So I think that works. And it did work with this one also. We had cops who spoke on record. We had his former gangmates. His parents were very difficult to convince. His father, still, when he talks about those days, you can see the shame in his eyes. He looks to the floor. It's very clear in his demeanor. But then he's still, when he talks about his present, he's as proud. So, I think Rahul has made up for it, but still there's a long way to go because I think Rahul himself is not completely happy with who he is at the moment. He still requires validation. And I hope in a few years he'll get there.
So, but as someone who's actually pulled the trigger, he shot people, he scared people, and he's endangered a lot of people, including his family, very heavily. Even when he went to jail, he didn't seem to show repentance. I mean this with no insult. I'm so sorry if I sound rude. I really don't know how to put it through. Yeah. But there was no this thing that there was a repentance thinking I should not have done this. I think he was spending a lot more time waiting for his dawn to kind of send resources and send someone to rescue him, and then the whole thing happened where, he found the energy to fight himself. He researched, he actually argued his case on his own, and he got out. But if you spend 2 years in jail and you still don't regret shooting someone, what do you think reformation does? Like, how do you think reformation actually takes place in jail? Do you think it works or no?
Honestly, having spoken to former inmates, there was this one former inmate who told me कि चोर अंदर जाएगा तो murder बन के बाहर आएगा. So because jail is it's actually a place to network for criminals, and I think because our reform system is not strong enough, it becomes a breeding ground for more crime because these people meet gang lords inside, they meet different men belonging to different companies and they liaise with them. For instance, Rahul maintained a diary of drug dealers who were from Nigeria, of local companies, of local gun runners. So I think, and plus that's what you call hardcore, right? No regret is what you call hardcore. He was so deep into it that he did not realize that he was in the midst of a quicksand, and he did not want to emerge from it because it had given him too much power, too much money. I think you and I cannot imagine what the barrel of a gun does to you. Probably he experienced it and he was too hooked to it. And when he realized that it was his downfall because his dawn never came to his rescue. So that was a major hit for him, that he still says ki itna sab kiya, and then he never showed up, and he feels really bad about that. And then he saw his family suffer, and then there was this alcoholism. He almost became a schizophrenic, and he was walking around in his vest and underwear without realizing it. He was standing under the shower for hours without realizing it. So he went crazy. And there came a point when he decided that, you know what, I need to fix this. So I think it came from within. It's not the society. It's not the criminal reform system. It's not the trial. It's not the proceedings. It's nothing. It's just within you, and it came from within. That's why I think, had it been external factors, we would have many more stories like Rahul, isn't it? I just know of Rahul who has turned his life around, and there's another man who became a vegetable vendor. So these are the only two underworld gangsters who I know of who've managed to turn their lives around.
Absolutely. Yeah, so let's move on to talk about his family, because to me it's literally the picture of loyalty. A mother who starts taking pills and becomes extremely sick just to deal with this guy. A father who's beaten up. He has a brother who's run from door to door, just trying to figure out how to get his brother out of jail. And in return, he only gets insult. Gaaliyan hi milti hai usko. So, how did you go about, as you say, it was very difficult. So, how do you go about interviewing his family about him?
So if you see, there are no quotes from Rahul's brother in the book. There are quotes from Rahul's sister. There are quotes from his parents. So his brother has still not been comfortable enough to speak to me about this. He still hasn't let go of it. But his parents, like I said, his father has been a bit forthcoming, quite forthcoming. His mother is still a little hesitant. I think they went through a lot of heartbreak, and it's because of him that he has been able to rebuild his life. Because like you said, I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's not okay. You hear of gunshots in the offices of real estate developers. You hear of men being gunned down. That is on the streets. But if you bring that pistol home, imagine your family and how do they put up with violence like that? For instance, he just threw the TV to the floor. How do you live with? I think his mom was pushed to a horrible state where she was taking those pills and everything. But then eventually it was his family that came through, because his Don abandoned him, probably because he was too much of a drug addict, too much of a alcoholic, and he had probably become useless for his gang. And it was his family that eventually came through, because they sold the little jewelry they had. They loaned money from everywhere they could. There was insult, there was embarrassment, there was humiliation, but they kept on going, and I think they have rescued him from his downfall. No one else but them. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you talk about, Mr. Jadhav, he found his solace in running. And what do you think it was about running that soothed him?
So if you see, first it was, I mean, the day he started running, the first thing was that it rid him of his first and biggest fear, which was the fear of new beginnings. I mean, he thought that he could never be somebody else. In Mumbai, he had the identity of a gangster. In Pune, at his rehab, he had the identity of an addict. But running gave him a new identity, a third identity, which was a fitness enthusiast. So he liked that. I mean, when he was in a park, there were people doing yoga, and there were many other people. They were just exercising, and he realized no one's judging him there, because there's nothing to judge him about. In fact, he has a good image. And then that was the initial thing. And then what actually helped him was, like, he always tells me that real running starts after 50 kilometers. When he's crossed 50 kilometers, he's just running through time and space. He has no awareness of the fire in his legs. He's not feeling a thing, and he's just moving through time and space. The wind in his body, just his mind as free as his body, and he's just moving, and he enjoys that. He really likes, and he just thinks, and that is nirvana. He's in retrospect, he goes through his entire life, the goods and the bads, and he comes out victorious out of that run. So I think it's meditational running for him, if more than anything else, and I think it's helped him a lot, and it continues to.
The fact that Rahul Jadhav's running group actually knows about his past, and they still treat him with respect, saying, he's come up from nothing, and so he deserves that. Do you think that speaks to larger society? Do you think that would happen in other places, or is this like an anomaly?
No, I mean, I think gradually it has happened. So initially, when he tried to reintegrate into the society, when he told his parents that, look, I have reformed, nobody, even his parents, weren't willing to believe him, and it's not easy to believe somebody who's had 4 cases of attempted murders, who's been held under MCOC, which is Maharashtra Control of Organized Crime Act, which is, he was the right-hand man of a very prominent gang lord who has recently been arrested. So nobody would believe him that he's turned around. Everybody saw him as that long-haired hooligan who had 2 pistols tucked in his trousers at all times. So, but then over time, he has come through, he has proved his mettle, he has really shown that he has, because he committed his last crime 13 years ago. So 13 years is a long time, but he was an alcoholic and drug addict after that. He changed that thereafter. So it has been slow, his transformation. Like I said, he still has a lot of moving on to do, because he craves that, validation. Now his friends have started inviting him for weddings, for their children's birthday parties, and he still feels very happy that अरे मुझे बुलाया उन लोगों ने. So it means a lot to him, and that validation is still, I mean, it's not there from all quarters still, but it is growing, and I hope this book helps him in getting more of it, because it really matters to him, you know, because he was a pest, a parasite on the society, and now he's worked really hard to turn that around. And by
Of
the way,
course.
you were
So,
mentioning his.
yes.
There are many cops in his wife's family. The irony and the drama that his life
Yeah,
is.
yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, but his brother-in-law is also a cop, right?
Yes. There's a lot of interrogation, but he came through. Yeah.
That's cool. But it was also the fact that I think in the book only you mentioned the fact that at one point, you know, after he sort of turned his life around, the cops who had investigated him, the cell that had investigated him, actually called him to one of the inspector's house, and he was felicitated there with a rose, which I
Yeah.
think is such a beautiful thing. My God, to like that's validation from the men who literally beat you. You
Yeah.
know, I think that must have been like a crazy moment to have.
Yeah. I mean, so the Mumbai police has its black sheep and it has its white knights. And I think Mr. Vinayak Watts, who headed that crime branch unit, was a white knight. And actually, he had called him for a routine interrogation because his Don had, I think, murdered somebody. It was an extortion murder. And he was called for an interrogation, and he went along with his medals and his certificates from his marathons. And I think he was the first cop who believed Rahul that, you know, I'm really on my way to changing my life. And that validation meant a lot, because he also told his colleagues कि अभी इसको कोई परेशान नहीं करेगा. And he called for a 10 rupee juice box and a rose, and he gave it to Rahul in front of everybody. And although it wasn't much, I mean, it meant the world to him. And thankfully, since then, this was in 2016, and since then he has had no summons. Nobody has called him for questioning. No cops have arrived at his home unannounced. Nobody has dragged his father into a police van. So it's been going good, and I think Mr. Watts needs to be credited. There are very few cops like him, and we must savor them. We must celebrate them.
Absolutely.